Good evening. Good evening. No episode ever starts off without something happening. Are you all right over there, Dad? You gonna make it? All right, good. Well, everyone, welcome to episode 81. Tonight, I am joined by former U.S. Army Sergeant John Otto Guthmann.
There you go. Oh my God.
We just had a big moment about it before everybody there. We have a couple of guys that are going to Germany, so they were trying to, add the German accent to it, and that was sticking in my head. So we'll start off like every podcast has lately. We'll start about a little intro about you there, Otto. So tonight we have the honor of sitting down with former U.S. Army Sergeant Otto Guthmann. I did that on purpose, brother. A man whose story is rooted in grit, faith, and service to others. Otto was born and raised in Ohio. Otto grew up in a challenging home environment that shaped his resilience and grit. Inspired by the events of 9/11, he enlisted in the Army Infantry, deploying to Afghanistan with the 25th Infantry Division. There he served in dangerous valleys and survived an IED blast, earning the Combat Infantryman Badge and several other awards along the way. After returning home, Otto continued his service in the Army of the Ohio National Guard before transitioning into civilian life. He built a strong career in the automotive industry, moving into leadership roles and earning recognition for his work. But ultimately, Otto followed a higher calling ministry. As the founder and executive director of Chaplain Otto Ministries, he has led hundreds of in-prison services, reached thousands of veterans, and created programs that are now expanding nationally. His mission is rooted in faith, second chances, and his motto, never leave a fallen comrade. Otto is also a husband, an ordained pastor, and a chaplain for the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association in Ohio. His journey is one of resilience, faith, and the commitment to serve others, both on and off the battlefield. Please join me in welcoming Otto to episode 81 of Pours of Patriots. So, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was you sure that's me that you're reading about over there?
Yeah. That's ChatGPT. What they have to say about you.
Yeah. Hey, I type it in like my trailer park way, like polish this up, but don't make me sound too smart.
Exactly. But I'm glad to have you. I'm glad we finally got in here. We met. Was it about a year ago, probably?
I want to say probably, close to it. It's got to be close to a year. Yeah. Maybe it was at the beginning of this year or towards the end, just the end of last. Right before I finished my website, I remember I was going through those complications. I think I talked to you guys about that. Yeah, December. December.
That's how we finally got you in here. So it's just under a year. So we'll start off with a quote like we always do. This is from Hebrews 13. Keep on loving one another as brothers and sisters. Do not forget to show the hospitality to strangers. For by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Continue to remember those in prison as if you were together with them in prison, and those who are mistreated as if you yourselves were suffering. So,
amen.
Yeah. So I thought I'd pull that up there. Something to do with what we'll eventually talk about, where you're at now.
Yeah.
Your main focus in life. So let's talk a little bit. Let's get started with young Otto here in Ohio. You did say, you're one of the few people that actually will put in there that, you had a difficult home environment. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I feel like maybe it's something people don't talk about. I've realized that there's more people like me. I'm not just the only one, but by fifth grade, I was in like my fifth school district. I moved from here to Michigan and back. And I just, I had a very alcoholic family, just violence and chaos. And, now I'm 36 years old and I'm looking back at how I behaved. I mean, I was a hellion, and anybody will tell you you were going to prison. I probably was. I just didn't expect to this way. I had a great mom and dad, and I want to say that they both tried their best. It just wasn't always easy. And I don't know. Maybe I feel like I didn't necessarily fit into certain groups. I had a lot of friends, but I was friends with a lot of different people. And I want to say by the time I was 15, I wasn't living at home anymore. I was at my grandma's all the time. And when they moved her to Colorado, I started living with friends. So I just, from living in two black and white households, rules this way and then no rules the other, or just complete different environments. It was just, I was like a chaotic cocktail, just ready to explode. And I realized I was probably looking for a lot of attention. And I don't know, it just, it wasn't fun all the time. But, thankfully, I had those different groups of friends because that's who I ended up living with, towards the end of high school. So it was interesting. I mean, my dad was in jail probably like 9 times while I was growing up. Court stuff sucks. I mean, just, man, stuff that you don't want to think about. And I realize now, like, I was this hateful, angry, evil person, and I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to respond certain ways, but you eventually, like, growing up, in an environment, you become like a product of that environment. And I just talked to my aunt that I haven't talked to in more than like probably 10 years. I barely know her. And it was cool because she was like, she's like 71. And I just had this random to want to call and reach out. And she said she was really proud of what I was doing, and that, realistically, like, maybe her kids kind of thought that I was going to grow up to be like a drug addict or a crackhead or like in prison because of the influence that I had around me. So needless to say, I learned a lot growing up.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, being so honest about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people now, the community I'm in now, we don't hide about talking about how things are. And I think for most people, childhood isn't all, unicorn and rainbows. And for other people, it is harder. But yeah, thanks for sharing that and putting that out there. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I mean, most definitely.
Yeah. So you said that, young time, 6th grade, 9/11 happens. So even though you're rambunctious, you start getting that, what hit you so hard about that at that age?
Oh, I get emotional every time I think about it. I didn't really have I knew what a GI Joe was, I guess. I wasn't like Army, Marines, or any of that. I just remember being in 6th grade, and I went to Northridge, just outside of Johnstown, and they brought us all into one room, and you could just tell something was wrong. And I mean, I was probably trying to clown around or something. They made us all sit down, and they told us, like, the country's been, under attack. Your parents are probably on the way to come get you. And I'm like, I can't imagine it in my brain, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, my mom picked me up and gave me her spiel of it. And I kind of was like panicked. And I thought the world was over, like God's coming back. Like, it's like sounded so crazy. But I got home and I put on the TV, and I sat there for hours. I watched that plane hit again, and again. And I just told myself, I said, someday I'm going to fight for this country, because I couldn't stand seeing the chaos that was going on there. And I wanted to be helpful. And I was like, I don't care what it takes. Like, I'm going to serve my country someday. Yeah. So do
you think that helped keep you on the rails a little bit, of as much as you were causing trouble? Do you think that kind of
no.
Spoken like a lot of people know.
So I'll tell you, 11th grade was a game changer for me. And that's, if I wouldn't have made this decision, I never would have graduated. I probably would have ended up in jail. But I ended up going to a vocational school, CTEC, and they had criminal justice. It was very military. So that kind of gave me like structure and discipline that I never had. I'm not going to say that I liked it at first, but it became something that I enjoyed, because I didn't understand it. And they would have recruiters come through all the time, Army, Navy, Marines. And I wanted to go to the Marines so bad. I did. And when it's like, did this military thing like change it? Like, no, I mean, I was smoking weed in 6th grade, drinking and partying every weekend by 9th. By 9th grade, I was drinking, I was smoking weed. And then you get into having a license, and I'm going to parties and I'm drinking and I'm smoking weed. I was one of my only friends that had a car, but I was also the only one that had a job. So I would just make reckless decisions. And the Marines, I really liked the recruiter that came through. I feel like I was always, so I'm the oldest of all of my siblings, and I feel like I've always been seeking like an older brother, or like, a father figure type of, just someone who is really there because they care about you. And I really felt like that with this guy. I didn't end up graduating on time because I didn't pass my science OGT. And that's when it really took a left turn for me. because I didn't get to walk. And that was really upsetting because my senior year, man, I made up more than half of my 9th and 10th grade classes. I had all D's and F's when I was at the regular school. But when I went to this vocational school, it was a game changer for me. I think maybe I had like 1 D, but like C's and B's. And it was like, whose report card is this? Like, it's not mine. And that's when I really wanted to graduate, because I was like, I want to get in the Marines. So I was staying after school doing all of this stuff to get all of the curriculum done. And I just couldn't pass that test. And I ended up moving downtown Columbus and got an apartment and started working at a hookah bar. And I I definitely partied for quite some time. I had gone to try to get into the Marines without a diploma, and they were like, no, you can't. So maybe like 6 months of partying, and, I went and took this test again. I was like, I got to pass this. Like, I know I have to pass this. So I finally passed it. And I go to the recruiter. Man, guess who's back? Mr. 31 ASVAB. And I've got a diploma now. So I went to MEPS, and they denied me because I had a tattoo on my arm. It's covered now, but it was a diamond with a skull in it. My aunt owned a tattoo shop, and I was hanging out up there, and I was like, listening to Lil Wayne, like Money on My Mind. And I was like, man, I got, what do you got with that? And he drew a skull with a diamond in it. And they were like, oh, well, this looks Nazi related. And I'm like, what? I have a disciple down my shin. And they're like, what's that mean to you? And I was like, I don't know. It's just disciple, like from the Bible. Like, it means that it doesn't mean anything other than I know, like, a follower of Christ. And then I had a tattoo with a grenade and brass knuckles that said always the hard way, because that's how I learned my lessons. Right. And they were like, that's gang related. And I'm like, man, I'm from Johnstown. Like, my friend started doing tattoos like these are guinea pigs. Like, this one's real. Like, that is not what that means. So I went and got them covered. The tattoo artist actually talked to the recruiter, and I go back, and they're like, oh, it's bigger than your hand on your leg. So we're downsizing in the Marine Corps. This was like 2009-ish. And I felt like, WTF? Like, really? I mean, I went to the pulley functions. So in the Marine Corps, like, when you're thinking about joining, I don't know if the Army does this because I went really quick, but every Tuesday and Thursday I was going to the Marines like Corps station. I mean, it was away from home. Like, I was always trying to be active. I was very dedicated. Like, I was like over 200 pounds then. So for me to like finally get like 3 pull-ups, I was ready to go, man. I wanted that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, and they were like, no. So I went back to Columbus, and I had no cares. The partying got a lot heavier. I started experimenting with some drugs, and I'm surprised that if I would have got caught with some of the stuff that had been in my pockets at times, I would be where I go, which is like, I would be in prison for sure. And there was just a day that I woke up and I was like, man, something has got to change. Where I'm going right now, like, this sucks. And I wonder if the Army would take me. So I called a recruiter, and they brought me in, and one of my friends was like a Cav Scout or something. So that's, the only thing I knew that was a thing. And he's like, no, you don't want to be a Cav Scout. And I was like, well, I want to be front line. He's like, you want to be infantry? That's what this blue cord's for. I'm like, sign me up, man. Let's go. And so I joined the infantry. I went to basic training like April 10th of 2010, and April 9th of 2011, I was in Afghanistan. 364 days later.
I think it's crazy just to go back about the original MEPS experiences. Like, we see now all the tattoos that are allowed. Like, when I went in, it was like a big deal to even have a tattoo, let alone like all these things that they find disqualification. I always love hearing from the Marine Corps, because everybody's always like, oh, the Marine Corps, all these negative things about the Marine Corps, but they're pretty strict about who they take in. I mean, like, the degrees, you know, your ASVAB score, you're like all that other kind of stuff. And then it's fine to be
What
like, the
happens to 'em when they
Army's
get
like, come on
out?
in, we need you. Come on. It's fine.
Yeah. Even when I went for the Army, like they went like this, because I have like death before dishonor. And he was like, oh, that's really close. And I just kind of gave him like a 35-second spiel, like, please, I've tried.
Yeah.
If I don't go, like, I'm going to go nowhere in life. Like, please let me go through. So
I think the thing is, be careful what tattoos you get.
Yes.
There's a moral of the story there. Yeah.
Most definitely. I want to get a tattoo all the time, but I'm like, man, I don't know what I want to get. And I've already gone through all these. I've got 3 or 4 tattoos you can't see anymore because they're covered up with 2 other ones.
That's a great. I mean, I guess that, you know, going back to that, I mean, is that what you consider your first like real kick in the teeth? Then was that, you know, you kind of you know, rebound a little bit, you know, you pass the test, and then what you want is just kind of like kick out from underneath you. Like
I was pissed off.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the first time that, you know, I had done things before to been like disqualified, but this was something that I really, really like worked hard for. And I mean, I just have to think that it wasn't a part of like God's plan. I mean, I think that this is where I found that no matter what I put my mind to, if I'm willing, I will figure it out. And maybe that happened like right in that school phase, because I almost like didn't finish all of those classes, and it could have been much more. And I'm like, man, I pushed it before, and if I did it then I can do it again. So but I feel like there was like a gap, like I in between like the Marines and then actually getting to go to the Army. I guess I had to experience life some, and you know, I'm glad that I guess that it worked out the way that it did. So
got a little lucky with all the stuff you said you were doing that it never really kind of blew up on you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like that. But I mean, who knows? You know, maybe I wasn't meant to go to the Marines. I definitely was meant to serve my country, and that's what I wanted to do. And I ended up liking the Marines along the way, and then I ended up joining the Army. I've grown up loving Harleys. I doubt that I will ever ride a Honda, but then again, you never know.
I just think it's funny. That's all the Marines need to hear is another story about how somebody wanted to get in the Marine Corps. They love that. They're like, oh, great. See, everybody loves the Marines. They just, you know, couldn't get in there, but no, that's good though. You know, it worked out. Right. So you did talk about that. You head down to Fort Benning.
Yeah. Home of the infantry.
Head down there, take care of all those schools. And so less than a year later, you're in Afghanistan. What's that like for a young soldier to, you know?
I think I was like 22.
Yeah.
Maybe I just turned 21 or 22.
Which is kind of old though. I mean, if you think for some, I mean, you're talking that some kids are, you know, 4 years younger than you are when they.
I mean, I'm 36 now, so I feel like that was a long time ago. And I'm not even that old now, you know? You know, it was exciting. It was a wild ride. And I can tell you, I mean, a lot about it. I remember, you know, first going over there, and I'm sure you've watched like Forrest Gump before. And so I was on a fob Joyce, and we had to go in by helicopter. So we like flew into Bagram, then to Jalalabad, and you know, it's my first time overseas, and we're at all these big, like Easton Town Center, you know, type of places. And then we get on this bird, and like, oh, we're not riding on another plane, or, you know, I didn't know. I'm E1 or E2 or whatever. And like, oh no, it's a blackout fob. I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means. And they're like, you can't land a plane there either, and you're not driving there from here. I was like, cool, man. It was like a fishbowl. I felt like watching Forrest Gump, like when they were like going, like there was all these sandbags, and it was like spray painted fob Joyce, and I was like, whoa, we are here. It was interesting. So I was like I said, 227 Wolfhounds, but I didn't actually deploy with our battalion. We weren't attached to them. My platoon was picked to be FTF, Focused Target Force. So if they had targets mid-level or whatever, and they had intel at times, they would send our platoon with another platoon to go, you know, go get that person, or go do the overwatch, go provide support. I did a lot of QRF and a lot of ARF, I guess it would be called, like, so by vehicle and by air. So I didn't necessarily do patrols, which I guess is like really good. So I'm glad that I didn't have to go do patrols and be in different places. But I mean, we would do these stupid overwatches at times, and I say that now because I don't know why we were there, and it's like you wanted something to happen and nothing was happening. We were in like an MRAP for 3 days. I think it was in June with no AC. The only air that we had was literally from the turret up there, and it was myself, Sergeant Taylor, and Abgar as the gunner, and him and I for 3 days, man. It was like every 2 hours, like switched out, and that absolutely sucked. I mean, everybody else that's out there, they've got AC. Okay, so they're at least, we're stuck in these trucks for 3 days. I mean, but now it's in the middle of the summer. The water in there is hot. Like I really remember like being passed out on the wheel, and I had like a hard kick that hit me, and I'm like, dude, what did you do that for? And he's like, I've tried to wake you up, but you keep telling me you're looking for cold water. Get up. Yeah. And then there was other times. I mean, the first big mission, and this is where I got my CIB. We went through Waterpoor, and we were going to raid through a Taliban training camp. I think I was the 9th or 11th bird. And, we do all of our movements at night. So by this point, they'd already gotten Osama bin Laden. We did an Overwatch. I think everybody did an Overwatch for that. We had absolutely no clue what was going on. I mean, we were armed to the teeth. I was like a turtle on my back. We practiced for this for like 2 weeks, like walking around the base with night vision and way too much weight in the back. I mean, I had all of my gear. I think I had like more than 24 bottles of water, claymores, grenades. I had a full case of 50 cal, and I had the barrel. So when we got off this bird, so this was the first mission. I think they called this Strong Eagle. So I hadn't seen any action yet, and I didn't see any action on this one at all. But at the very first part, it was super scary because we're getting off this bird. There's all this dust in here. Ah, man, this mortar guy, his bag was so heavy when he stepped off the bird, he snapped his leg. It was just like, man, we ran out of water on that. But it was like a day or something later. They're like, they got him. We're like, oh, well, they got who? And they're like, Osama bin Laden. I'm like, yeah. So they let us dump a whole case of the 50 cal. And, now we're getting ready to go back down the mountain. Man, I will never forget this. This is probably one of the dumbest things that ever happened, but then we'll get into some other fun stuff. But, I mean, obviously following someone at night, trying to get on a bird, there's dust and all this stuff going on. So you're following the person in front of you. Well, you don't realize that you're all going into a big hole until you're in that big hole.
On top of each other, yeah.
And it's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, grab the butt. Like, I'm trying to tell them to grab the barrel to pull me up. Like, I'm trying to let them know there's a barrel back there. If you grab the barrel, you can pull me up, because I couldn't get up. So I'm up. I felt like I was going to stand out of this chair. I'm getting on the bird and I'm moving because I don't want to smack nobody in the face. Okay. Oh, man, we're going. I unsnapped my helmet. I'm like, thank God. We land at our base, and I'm like, hey, can you grab this barrel, help me up? Like, what barrel? This is exactly what my boat. I got off that bird, and Sergeant Taylor had that barrel, and I don't know if he knew that like I fell or I could not believe that. Yeah. Thank God that didn't get left. That never happened again. I 550'd everything.
Yeah, that's one of those things, like, nobody knows if you lose something in the military, there's like, it's a big deal. That would be one where you get a lot of shit, I think, for the size of it. I mean, interesting that you lost it, but that's okay. But you know what I mean?
I couldn't see. I mean, it's on my rucksack on my back. Like, I mean, even if I went like this, I don't know. I'm like trying to like reach back to make sure it's there the way up, but the way back, man, heck, we're on the way home. Who cares, right? But back to the first story that I was getting ready to tell you. So, that mission happened. Maybe we had flown a couple other places, and, we hadn't seen any action yet. And it's night, it's loud. We know we're going to raid through a Taliban training camp. So this, if it's going to actually end up happening, it's probably going to happen here. And I was sitting, I had Sergeant Leffler and Sergeant Taylor. Either way, they were on one side or the other. And you could tell like the gunner was acting different from what we could see. And he was like yelling in someone's ear. And my Sergeant Taylor like hit me. And I was like, what, Sergeant? He was like, find out what the F is going on. And I go, kaboom to Sergeant. I'm an E2, right? And he's an E6. I'm like, boom. Sergeant Taylor wants to know what the F is going on. And he looks at me and said, the bird crashed at the landing. Everything went up in me instantly. And I had to turn and deliver that directly. I knew that I had to, but we had no idea what happened, what was going on, what we were going into. If we thought that it was going to be chaotic, like now in our minds, like we are prepared for a hot zone. So I guess there was like a mechanical malfunction and it dropped like 90 feet. So half my platoon was in it and they all but one squad leader, they all got med-backed out. Like nobody got hurt, maybe some sprains or something like that. But as soon as our bird was landing, like we're putting people on there. So this was a big movement and it was 235. So I was on 235's base, which is Cacti. They're also 25th Infantry Division. So you had the 227 Wolfhounds and 235 Cacti. So it's like, you know, Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah. And I'm on their base and I'm Ohio State. So again, you know, I'm on like the 12th. Yeah, I already said that part. Anyways, the whole, you know, battalion moves out, but our two platoons, we have to stay there because there's the bird and sensitive items. So we take up the higher ground. And I went down a little bit to like, I'm like digging these sandbags because we have no idea, you know, what we're about to get into and kind of get my fighting position set up like down here in this rock crevice. And I, you know, Sergeant Taylor's like, hey, Guthmann, come on up. And he's like, you got your stuff together and everything down there. I'm like, yeah, I put this there. And this is what, you know, just giving him, you know, my situation report and everything. And he's like, all right, well, if anything, you know, goes on, I'm going to send you down there. But for right now, why don't you just unsnap your helmet and relax? Well, golly. Yeah. Thanks, Sergeant. Man, I unsnapped my helmet. I took a swig of water. You know how you put it back here to lay back. I crack, 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 crack. I was like, whoa. He was like, let's go. Yeah. I snapped my helmet and he was like, get down there. And I mean, I don't know if they spotted me or if it was like from where they were shooting, but thank God that there was that like crevice, because as soon as I got there, I mean, it was like, you ever had a bee go by you like really, really close and you can feel it. That's insane. I mean, ricocheting off this thing behind me. And I'm like, if I get hit, don't jump. Don't move up. Like I had to quit shooting my weapon and I laid completely as flat as I could. And that was the last time that I was in that spot. And I think we were there for 5 days. So we were prepared to be gone for 3 and we ended up staying at the same place for 5 days. And I think that we got into probably 2 to 3 engagements throughout that whole thing. And, you know, we have like comms to hear their radio talk. And I mean, we know RPGs are coming, Dishkas are coming. An RPG went right over top of us and hit a boulder. I mean, it was absolutely insane. The second time action took off, I was given I think it's the Mark 48. It shoots a 7.62, but it's the size of a saw, if I'm remembering that name correctly. It's hard to remember, but that wasn't my primary weapon. It was one of the other guys that ended up getting medevaced off. It had been handed off to someone else, but then handed off to me. And I did not put CLP on that. So as soon as it starts going, I'm like, blah, 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 and it just stops. I'm like, oh my... I'm slamming this thing on the ground, and Sergeant Pesink was like, get that weapon online. I'm like, I'm trying. He's like, go get your weapon from Rivera. And this is like, I want to say 25 or 30 yards away. I'm like, are you serious? Man, that thing did not not have CLP on it after that. I probably put 2,000 rounds or more through it during that time that we were there. But yeah, that's when we got our CRB, and that's when it became real
Right.
to me. And it's it was a very, very interesting experience.
Yeah, a lot of different emotions, right? Like excitement, fear.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. So when like the helicopter, like if we're going out on mission on a vehicle, I didn't care. Like, but for some reason, like when I heard the birds coming to get us, it was just something about that unknown of getting like shot down. It's like, but when they were coming to pick us up from the spot, like I was super excited.
Yeah, you get on that, yeah.
Oh, it's like it was like the reverse effect, and it's just that feeling that I got in the pit of my stomach when he said the bird crash.
Yeah.
Like, man, every time I hear that, I slowly get that. And sometimes I'm sitting at the couch and I'm like looking up. I'm like, "Do you hear that?" She's like, "What?" And I'm like outside looking at the sky. I'm like, "Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
That's a helicopter."
Yeah, I think if you've been in that situation, you can always hear when a Black Hawk goes by, where the Chinook sound. Or just the other day, it was interesting the flyby for the Ohio State game. They kind of bank around here, so as soon as you hear that, that sound of the fast move, you're like, okay, it's just, and you kind of want to see it too. Like it's always like when I went out there to watch him, you see him, you're kind of like, man, something's cool about the F-16. But and the same thing, the Black Hawk Chinook, I just don't want to be in them anymore because of exactly what you said. Every time I hear a story, it's not just getting shot down, it's the mechanical problems you hear and all that other kind of stuff. I'm like, I'll be happy never to get another helicopter in my life.
It makes you value life coming home.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, really does. And I mean, at this point, like I was still on the hearts and minds phase. I was on the hearts and minds, wanting to win the hearts and minds of, people, I guess, thinking that there was like good that could come from there. But that all changed. October 13th, 2011 is when my squad leader was killed. It's like hate birthed in me. The only thing I wanted, like hearts and minds, I just wanted to pierce them with lead. And I had vengeance, and I didn't care. It sucked because he was a really, really good leader. And man, I feel like, what was that, like 13, 14 years ago? I actually just talked about it for the first time. And I had to do it 3 times over Memorial Day weekend. And I was a guest speaker in prison, and I got to talk about it with veterans. But yeah, man, Sergeant Taylor meant a lot to me. He was a good dude. He was quiet. Like when we first got to, our squad and everything, I saw all these guys getting smoked and getting yelled at and everything. And he just had this like serious quietness like about him, and the way that he carried himself. It just made you want to follow him. And I mean, he was a funny guy. Like I said, we got stuck in trucks together for a long time. And, we were on this mission, and I can't remember where we were going, but like a huge storm came and washed these roads out. So we were stuck in vehicles. Thank God we had air conditioning this time for like 5 days, maybe even longer than that. I mean, they had birds dropping fuel, dropping food, water, because we couldn't go anywhere. And he had he dipped, and I'd ask for a dip every once in a while. And I looked at him, I was like, "Hey, Sergeant Taylor, can I get a dip?" And he just gave me the same look when he had that barrel in his hand. And he reached in his pocket and he slammed it down, and he got out, and I sat there and I looked at that can of dip for probably 20 minutes. And now I realize why he got out of the car, out of MRAP so quick. Freaking can was empty. I was contemplating, like, do I open this or not?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But no, he was a really good leader. And, you know, he had a family. He brought us over to his house for beer. And right before we deployed, that's when like spice, it was like the synthetic weed. And there was definitely some of us that smoked that. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that he's actually okay with this. But since it's cool, man, when in Rome, right?
Yeah.
Which I was smoking it with my friends out of there, but I didn't want necessarily him to know that. And Monday came around for, you know, PT or whatever. And he's like, hey, Guthmann, thanks for coming over. Hope you had a good time. I don't think you should be doing that. You have a good head on your shoulders, and, you know, watch what influences you, basically. And that's, I think, what really made me respect him and like want to honor him, like, from there, because he could have smoked me. I could have got an Article 15. He could have treated me like crap, but he was actually a real man with me. And I think that's probably the first time in my life that I felt that sincere care. Not like I'm mad at you, but I'm disappointed. And I think that you can do better. So that really made me think. But we were, so October 13th, 2011, we actually were going to help our battalion out. I can't remember which company it was, but I believe it was like the furthest, maybe north that anybody had like ever gone, like Nuristan or something. Basically, all the jingle trucks that were coming through for supply routes were just getting demolished. So they wanted the U.S. forces, I guess, to take like the top part of the hill. And the platoon that was there, I think they were there for 3 days, and they were getting ate up. So they're like, we're sending you guys. And I'm like, all right, like how this sounds already. Great. And we're on our way, and we stop somewhere else. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, where are we? Like, I thought we're supposed to be landing in a cornfield. And they were getting hit so hard at that point that they couldn't land us in the cornfield to hike up this mountain. So once that happened, we bird lands, you know, the first time I've ever flown doors open. Pretty cool experience. Also scary as well. You know, having a Black Hawk with the doors open on both sides, it's different. It's not like we had seatbelts on. You know what I mean? I've got all this gear, and I'm just like, it's scary. So bird takes off, and there's a cell phone tower, and then there's the top of the mountain. So the cell phone tower had a structure around, like a concrete structure, and there was like 2 pads on the top, so that they could use it for like Overwatch. They had like sandbags and everything built up. So we get up to this point by daylight. So, and there was going to be guys that were going up to the next point, but like a waiting period based off like previous days. I got picked to go up top. And the last thing Sergeant Taylor ever said to me was we were heading out of that like little gate for the cell phone tower. He said, hey, Guthmann, come here. And I'm like, damn, what did I forget? I'm like, dang it, man. Like, they're rushing us. Like, yes, Sergeant, what's up? He's like, don't die on me up there. And he gave me like a hug, and I was gone. And I'm like, so this mountain that we have to get, it's steep. They called it the kill zone. This is where mortars were landing that were missing the top, that were getting shot at by the village down. So it's just weird because I think about it at times, like the whole time I was busting to get up to the top of that mountain, I was like, man, that was really weird. It was. Like, Roger, Sergeant, like, did I answer him right?
No.
You know what I mean? And so we got up there. It was me, Grody, Abgar, Sergeant Cyber, and I think I can't remember the other guy. But we're like looking around up there, and like they're filling Hescos, and it looks like pictures you see from like Vietnam or something, like a real bunker being built real time. And they're like, hey, this is where you guys are going to go. And this is where the action's coming from. Like, we need to move now. And I'm like, well, nothing's happened yet. I mean, and then it did. And it was absolutely chaotic. Probably more than 10 hours worth of like, not me being consistently in engagement, but consistently getting shot at. I mean, they were in a ridge line. They had mortars, And it was so chaotic. I have a video of this. A mortar landed probably 30 yards, not even 30 yards from me. And thank God, like these rocks and everything had been piled up. But the first one that landed, nobody knew we got hit until the second one because it was so chaotic. So the first one hit kaboom, but then the second one hit and that got A&A. So people started screaming. They're like, oh my God, that's incoming. And one of those lobbed over and got Sergeant Taylor. I think we were there for like 13 days. That day sucked. I didn't know that he died until that evening, and they were like, "Hey, Rogue Platoon." That was our platoon, was Rogue Platoon, and we had gone up with Sergeant Seibert, and we're like, "Oh, man, I can't believe we're like in my mind, we're going down. We're going down. We're going back with our guys." We all got in the circle, and people filled our spots. And he's like, "I have something to tell you guys." And he's like, "Sergeant Taylor is no longer with us." A bird picked him up today. Like, is he on, like, he left on leave? And then someone said, "Define no longer with us." And that's when he said that, he was killed in the middle of the afternoon. And one of the mortars that hit the shrapnel, it went to the other side, and it went straight through his helmet. I was not expecting that. And I didn't think I was going to go home. I thought that we were probably like, maybe that was, it just hit different. And, I mean, we had our quick moment like together up there, and then we had to get back to our positions. And we knew that there was going to be a medevac coming in to get A&A that had got hurt, and a couple of other guys that got peppered on our side from the mortars, and they were going to get him. So the bird's coming in, and we're pulling security, and you just hear "Wah!" and the bird takes off. And I mean, the freaking medevac dude that got off that bird, like, I don't think that they realized that there was an incline, and it just, I mean, that day was, we didn't know if it was a sniper we didn't know what happened. Like, just very, 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 very crazy day. I mean, they tried to overrun us with suicide vests. I threw 2 hand grenades because we had to. It was like Grody and I, we for real made goodbye videos on my camera. Because we didn't think that we were coming home. It was, yeah, it was something, man.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I know that's I think, it's important to share the stories of those people we lost, especially the ones that were close to us. I mean, it's hard to talk about, so I really appreciate you, sharing that. I know it's rough, and I'm sure he'd be very happy to see you honor him and know how much you meant to him. And I think it's one of those things that people, I think people watch a lot of war movies and they have an understanding of how things go, but they don't really understand the real time when things like that happen. There's no like, okay, let's process this. It's back to, doing your job. And then it just getting chaotic as it was, or even more chaotic. And you just got to, kind of compartmentalize it until you can't anymore. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah. Then you come home and you start drinking it away.
Yeah.
Why me, not him?
Yeah.
That's how too many of us die.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the, 100% the whole, I mean, I struggle with that with some things that happened with, friends that I lost and soldiers as well. But I have it now that, they don't, there's no way they're looking down on us and saying, "Hey, I wish it was Otto. wish it was Che. I don't think that's the way it was. It's an unfortunate thing, and it just wasn't.
Hey, they expect
wasn't our time, yeah.
They would expect us to keep carrying on and keep
Yeah.
carrying the mission and keep holding the honor.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that. You know, it's funny. You know, there's a good friend of mine, Mike, that I was a lieutenant with. You know, he got killed, and I mean, I used to honor him by getting just blasted fucking drunk on the day he passed away, and I kind of, you know, I've stopped doing that now for a couple of years because it's just really that's not, you know, I don't think that's what he'd want me to be doing. It's not really honoring him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you know, feeling guilty, feeling sorry for myself, feeling, you know, all this anger. So I've kind of changed, you know what I mean? Just so you can honor them in different ways. Telling their stories are huge. Just continuing to just understand it's just the way it is, right? It wasn't, you know, it was their time and not my time and not your time. And it's rough to kind of process, but it's how it is, you know?
It's just, it's life, man. And nobody's promised tomorrow. I mean, there were guys that signed up for the infantry that, you know, never deployed. I signed up for the infantry and I deployed. It was just my card got pulled, you know? And it's,
I thought it was interesting. We talked about, you know, that peacekeeping, how you can go from, you know, in your heart being one to build minds and help these people to this anger. I mean, I just want you to know you're not the only person that ever felt that way. I think it's a pretty common thing, but I think it's an important thing to talk about where people sit there because there's a party that has this immense love and you really want to help, but then something like that happens, or it's crazy how it can just overturn what it is. It's just like, you know, I have it now that's just, I want those people to feel the same way I feel. You know what I mean? I want payback. And it's rough to know. I mean, for me, that was a long time to know that part of me existed.
Yeah.
It really hurt because I was like, man, I really want to be helping these people. In the same breath, I was like, hey man, what we're doing is important. But then the same mission, I was like, fuck these people, you know, fuck this. You know what I mean? I just want
shake your hand, shoot your back. So not everybody understands that,
Yeah.
man. But I mean, you have a little kid running at you and you don't know if they have a suicide vest on or not. And there's white smoke going, like you never, and it's like, they will send women in, you know, to the Serpentine to blow something up. And there's as much as like you want to say someone, they fear the Taliban.
Yeah.
And
to me, it was like, you know, we were doing so much, like if you looked at everything we were trying to do to help, right? And then like, they just wouldn't, you know, they would either, you know, something happened where they attack you or they just weren't, you know, receptive to what we were doing. And that's, for me, there was a whole mess of fucking anger that came from out. Like, you know, do you realize all the things we're sacrificing, all these things are happening and you're not fucking thankful for what we're doing. But now that I look back at it, I kind of get it too. You know what I mean? I get where those people were coming from. I don't hold any resentment for them, but you know, for a long time, I just didn't like that feeling of, you know, really like not, you know, it seems like everyone thinks it's a tough thing. I mean, to say like that's how you feel, but to me, it wasn't. It just to know that I had that feeling in me, that feeling of just fucking utter hate. You know, I had it for myself, but you know, for other people, it's just it was a hard pill to swallow for a long time for me.
Mine transitioned to civilians.
Yeah.
Like I hated the Afghans when we were over there for the environment that I was in and the chaoticness. And when I came back home, I transferred that hate to civilians. Like sometimes I even still hate civilians, and it's tough at times, but they're so ungrateful and they don't like care and there's no structure. So for me, like coming out of the military into this like civilian world, I have to consistently like fight that hate and it's over here, and it's not against anybody that shot at me. Yeah,
I think that comes from time. Like I don't know, you're still a young guy, how it goes, and that's come. I understand. Like for a long time, I felt that same way too. Like they don't know what they don't know, right? Like they don't know the sacrifices you had. They don't, you know. I chose it. Like I didn't get drafted. You didn't get drafted. We chose to fucking do that. So like, you know, we can't, you know, I'm with you. Like whenever somebody would talk about for a long time, if anybody talked about the military that was in the military, like you start just wanting to like punch them in the throat or get into a huge argument with them. But like over time now, it's like a lot of those feelings I have, like what they were saying, like a lot of it made sense. You know what I mean? A lot of it was like, why, you know, like,
I just didn't want to hear it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
you're a war bent mind. Delete you from my Facebook friend, you family member.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I heard things wrong and I reacted in just different ways. And, you know, learning as you grow, because I've definitely changed from who I was then to who I am today. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You know, you come back from that deployment, you know, you've seen, you know, someone close to you, no longer with you. You come back and you said that, you know, you started obviously that you pick up the habits again of drinking and all that kind of stuff is still kind of rolling around. And what makes you decide to get out?
So they weren't letting anybody re-enlist. You could only extend at that current time with, and there's only a 50% chance to deploy. I did not want to stay in Hawaii any longer. I mean, when we got back, I drank a lot. I got in trouble, almost like in trouble with like the military police, I guess. I mean, my platoon had to show up at the freaking HQ, like Sunday at like 4 a.m. one time because of me. I mean, I
Look how important I am.
I somehow escaped the police station at on base, and Sergeant Pessink, you definitely choke slammed me, and I love you.
But I think that's funny you bring that up, because I don't think people understand what that really means. Like, people are like, when you said that, I've heard people say that before, and like it just makes me laugh, because they don't realize that like someone's like, oh, they can't make everybody come in. Yeah. If you fucked up, and then everybody that is there knows that it's because of you. That's and it's not like they keep it secret. They're like, we just need to be here. No, they're like, hey, it's because of him right there, and this is what he did. So that's one of the mass punishment you see before. There's nothing worse than having to be the reason why you had to come in early or stay late for something, or you become because people get angry with you, and then like it's like
yeah, you don't want to I had inconvenienced our platoon a couple times. And I mean, honestly, man, I just recently had like reached out to some people and said hi, because I feel like I was like the person that when I was in the military up until we came back, I feel like I was a good soldier. But when we came back from Afghanistan, I was drinking I had never blacked out before, but this was like something that happened all the time. And
So why do you think it ramped up so much? Why do you think it changed?
So I think what I have found is having like TBI, traumatic brain injury. Some of those side effects, like drinking alcohol, can cut off oxygen to your consciousness level. So it's like the lights are all on, but no one's there. I just didn't believe like anybody for a really, really, really long time, because that had never happened to me before. So I think that I would just be me to a normal point. But then, I mean, it could be 2 beers or it could be 10 shots later. Like, there wasn't like an algorithm for it. So I think that whenever I like hit that point, like I just went over it, not like purposefully, but it was just like, lights out, nobody home, drunk, full of testosterone and rage. I don't know. So it, yeah, I definitely had a huge drinking problem, and I wanted to get out of Hawaii. I either wanted to deploy or get out of Hawaii, one or the other, but I didn't necessarily want to get out of the military. But there was an option to extend, I guess, like into the guard or whatever. So that would cut off my IRR time, keep my foot in the door. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I mean, everybody hates me. I hate me. I mean, I did. I hated me. I was snorting Xanax here and there. I hated myself. I wanted to die. I didn't care to honestly be here. Maybe that had a lot to do with it. And I came home. I started working with a guy that had been in the Army, and I had worked with him before, but he was doing a lot of drugs. And I was like, I cannot be. I mean, they didn't know I was, doing a little bit of Xanax, back in Hawaii while everybody else was on leave. And I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to see my family. So, I quit that job, and I started working at Germain Lexus of Easton washing cars. And I think I was home for like maybe not even a year, and I got arrested. I mean, I don't remember being arrested. I was so drunk. I had a loaded handgun, and I woke up in jail, not knowing why I was there. And this is the start probably of like the darkest phase that I ever went through. My family didn't want me. Like, how are you going to come home from the military and look at you. I was sleeping on my friend's couch. My car was about to get repoed. And I mean, I wrote a letter. I just didn't pull the trigger. Like, I was ready to be gone. It's like, how did I get myself here? And there's just a lot of hate. Because when I came back, I mean, I was, every once in a while doing a little Percocet. I was smoking a lot of weed, drinking a lot. I mean, if I wasn't at work after 5 o'clock, I would know when the next day started because I woke up. Like, there wasn't like a go to bed for me type of thing. And I don't know, man, just drinking and thinking about him dying, and the Bible says thou shalt not kill. It's like, okay, I'm going to hell. That's what I told myself. I'm going to hell. You have all these scenarios that run through your head. Split decisions for temporary situations can cause permanent solutions. And I've struggled with that. And, I don't ever want to be there, but it's I'm very, very passionate about people who struggle with drinking and drugs and suicide, because I have overcome them all. Mm-hmm. And it's not a lot of people maybe know that, because I have this happy, characteristic. But there's just some, thoughts in my mind from growing up, or what happens in life. And I want to say that the best thing that happened to me, well, first and foremost, God in my life. I mean, I was running from I wanted nothing to do with him. And I didn't want anything to do with him until I got a girlfriend who was an atheist. She's probably watching at home laughing.
It's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, the things you talk about, I mean, again, thank you for sharing that. And
I went off on a tangent. Sorry.
No. I mean, it's not a tangent at all. I mean, this is exactly what, when I, before we got on air and talked about that, it's always what, the real conversations, these are the real conversations that people need to hear. And like, it's always how, similar we are. And a lot of things is like, I think it was the same way for a long time. I walked around and had a mask on and looked happy and looked like I had all my shit together, but I didn't want to be around. I had a bunch of hate for everything, myself mainly. And yeah, I know the feeling. So it's, thankfully, I never, took a permanent, solution to a temporary problem, So it is always powerful now, I think, for, men like us and women to talk about, what these are, to really have real conversations about how you're feeling, because if you don't, then, what ends up happening, you're down I'm down in the basement here drinking half a bottle of whiskey by myself, thinking I'm the only person feeling this way. Meanwhile, I'm not, So there's the ability to talk about it, to be able to really let people know that this is happening. And that's the only way, I think, to snap out of this whole situation, is not to understand you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
That was big for me, to know that I wasn't alone. I wasn't broken. I wasn't flawed. I was a normal human being. Just I wasn't, seeing things the right way at the time. And
I think I felt unwanted. And maybe like that stems all the way back, like from bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball from childhood.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great opportunity to talk about Safer Warrior. I mean, that's one of the things that they're finding out, the formative trauma that we always talk about, developmental trauma. Yeah, that stuff is passed on, and it happens pretty easy. And those things are characteristics that we continue to carry out through our whole life. Those feelings you have when you were 8.
Yeah.
Guess what? As 50, you're still feeling that. Like 36, you're still feeling like parts of you still feeling like you're a child.
I score in the high zone for, I took one, not the Safer Warrior, but I did. Yeah. I took one of the trauma tests.
Yeah. And I think and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what, it's what happened. Like, it's those things that happen, and just, it's letting you know that you don't have to act that way, because all those things are coming online to protect you at some point, whether it was that when you were, 8, 10, whatever, that, 20. I mean, what people don't realize, 18 years old, some of these things, that happened to service members when some of these guys were 18 years old when horrible shit happened. I mean, you're still a kid at that point. So you just, you continue to carry on those characteristics throughout your life. And it just, you know, for me, I just found out it wasn't working. Right.
Yeah.
I just walk around angry. I wasn't present. Yeah. But being able to, you know, understand that that's what happened. It's fine. Like you said before, you know, it just happened. It made us who we are today. Right.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and change it. There's no point in being angry or bitter about it anymore, you know?
I think that maybe the biggest thing for me was like, once I was happy, like with myself or okay with myself, it not feeling like I had to like appease somebody or perform in some type of sense. Like I could be happy in my own skin, and it didn't matter, you know, if I was drinking a beer or what. And this has taken some time. I mean, maybe even up to like the last year is like some things I'll still continuously be working on myself and how I think, and because it's so easy to twist my thoughts based off of environments that I know that feel like alarming because they're new, but the new is actually better. And this alarming stuff is holding me captive. And I don't want to be that. It's just tough to go through these uncomfortable situations or scenarios at times, and actually stepping back and taking your eye off the scope and looking at the battlefield and saying, all right, dummy, how can I be better through this? Like, what am I doing to consistently cause this? It's got to be a thought up here. Yeah. At least for me, it is. So.
No, I think, I mean, yeah, it's a great way to put it. You know, for me, it's like, you know, I can't love other people really if I don't love myself. You know what I mean? You know, all that stuff you know, I said I love people, I did, but I really, you know, because that's what you're supposed to say, right? That's what you're supposed to feel, you know what I mean? But you know, now that I love myself and I'm comfortable with myself and I don't really give a shit what other people think.
Yeah.
It's super liberating.
It
right?
is.
It's where you start to really like, yeah, I'm not going to do this because I want, Otto to like me. Like, I don't care if you don't like me. Right.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I don't hold that, you know, I don't hold that part of me anymore. I don't get my validation from other people. And I think that's a big thing. And it's not just a wear class. This happens with a lot of people. We're always looking to fit in. Right. We don't want to be different. You know,
it's easier that way.
Yeah. I mean, there's parts I think everybody has to still wear a mask or, you know, play the, you know, the game in society, you know, I can't be my true authentic self, you know, 24 hours a day, but, yeah, it's, you know, that I think the key to all that is to love yourself. I mean, I you know, for me, that's been huge because I didn't up until 2 years ago, close to almost two years exactly. I didn't, you know what I mean? So I have it there that like, yeah, I did love other people, but how could I really love if I didn't love myself? And now I know what, you know,
it's different.
I know what love is. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It is. It's, yeah. I mean, did anything happen that kind of helped you with that, or? I mean, the Saver War experience is what changed my whole mind, and then I was moving towards that before I went a couple years ago. I mean, the podcast started a little bit before that, so we, you know, I had some conversations with veterans like yourself, and you started to talk about it. You know, what went on in your life, what you're thinking. So I had that ball rolling, but you know, something just wasn't working, and that's what changed it for me. Like, you know, to understand that I'm not alone in my thinking. Yeah.
Right. I'm you know, like, holy shit. I really always thought, like, I used to say I was wired differently. There was something different about me. I was different. Like I'd see people, and I was doing it, but I didn't understand it. Right. Like, like those people, like I would do the same thing. If you asked me, was I scared? Was I had these problems? No. Right. I wasn't talking about my feelings. I wasn't doing anything like this, but I couldn't see that other people weren't doing that either. So I just felt alone. I really felt like I was broken. Right.
Yeah.
And because we don't have these conversations with, you know, men don't have conversations where we really talk about our feelings. Like men don't, you know, like when you were just to start crying, like, I'm not going to walk over and hug you, man. You're a man. You're going to cry. It'll be fine. Right.
Yeah.
We just don't do it. Right. Because like, no, you know, that's it's just not what society expects anymore. And like I said earlier, like, I don't give a shit anymore. If I feel like crying, I'm going to cry. You know what I mean? You've been down to where we meet on Sundays. I mean, I don't know how many times I've cried in the basement of the coffee vault in Sunbury. I don't give a shit. Like, it's okay.
Yeah,
right.
Man,
it's what needs to be done at that time. And I'm fine with that. So
you're right. And that's vulnerability is tough.
Yeah.
But once you experience like being vulnerable, it's so much easier. It's freeing and it's liberating. And I learned that in prison, like preaching, not as like an inmate or anything like that, but just through those guys. And I learned how to like love myself through that as well. So, because for them, it's like, you don't cry and it's like, man, sometimes I can't help like, because God has brought me through like so much, and I might be like telling a story, and I realize, like, you know, they don't cry in the day room. Like if your parent dies and you find out, like they're holding that in because you don't want to look weak or put a target on your back. So through teaching them about being vulnerable, I learned even more about being vulnerable, which helped me love myself even more along the way.
Yeah, that's a smaller part of society. Like I mean, I get, you know, that still doesn't, you know, it's not the way it should be, but I can see that. But it's just the other thing of grief. Like it's just not known for men to cry. I mean, you hear people talk about having a badge of courage. Like I'm 75 years old and I only cried one time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, dude, like that's a fucking story. That's all. Like, okay, tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, but that's the stories that we live in. And you look at these people that are like these larger than life people that you like. To me, it's you know, to get in touch with the feelings, right, man? Like my fucking anger was masking that I was sad or scared.
No, that makes sense.
That's how I lived my life for a long time, sad or scared. And I just wasn't willing to say to anybody, like, you know what, right now, Otto, I'm sad. Right. I'm sad to hear the story about what happened to your squad leader that was so close to you. The other one would be just like, fuck that. Fuck, you know, we should have fucking, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like it's all masking, hiding. And then I think being able to talk about those emotions and having men talk about emotions is huge because that's what we need to be. We need to be honest about how we feel. And I think that's powerful when people see you're vulnerable. Like I said, I don't do it for people to notice it, but I don't give a shit. Like I couldn't even tell you how many times I've been crying down there. I don't care. Like somebody one time asked me like, "Oh, does that bother you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't care. It's not, that's how I feel at the time. And I'm going to display my emotions." Yeah, man.
The hard part is for me is being able to explain it, but I need to, and that's like what I'm trying to do is learn how to be able to explain like how I'm feeling. Because if I don't know how I'm feeling, you're sure as hell not going to know how I'm feeling. Yeah. And especially like in the household, like if I've got something going on up here and I don't know why, and I need to be able to explain how I'm feeling. And I mean, even, you know, I've had all this recording issues lately, and I told my wife, I was like, I am like so mad. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I just want to like punch something. I mean, I'm not going to, I'm well past it. I was like, but when I like put my hand like this, like I feel like I punched something, but I don't have that physical pain. And something makes me right now just want to feel a little bit of physical pain. And I don't know why. Yeah. And talking through that, maybe like, you know, 10 or 15 minutes later, she'll tell me when I get home, but you know, talking through that, I was like, better because I can wind myself up sometimes. And it's just like, I feel like a 7-Up on a back road with nothing but potholes. And
I mean, I think a lot of it is just at the moment, like what people don't realize is we're all reactors, right? We're all reactors to how we've reacted in the past and what's worked for us. And we just react, right? So half the time we honestly, no one really knows what they're really feeling. You got to take it, you know, for me now, when I start feeling like I'm reacting, like I got to break contact. Like I got to literally like break contact from the situation. If it's a person, you know, if it's something, I got to break contact. I got to be like, okay, like I just had it at work, right? On Tuesday, somebody was getting on the phone and dude, I was fucking pissed. And all I said at that point was like, you know what? I'll take care of it. Thank you. Have a good day. And hung up the phone. Right. Yeah. And the whole part of me was like, would have been quickly to get on an email and start like making this person wrong and bitching and moaning and stuff. And I just was like, I walked away from my desk, you know, came back with a cup of coffee, sent these 2 emails, and then like right away the person got on Teams and said, "Hey, I apologize for what happened." But you know, that whole thing of, you know, when you look back at it, why was I angry? Like I know I was angry, but then I look at it too as like I've done the same thing to people. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of that too is like just what, you know, what's happening. Like I don't, you know, I try to reflect on the same thing. It's hard all the time. Like I meditate a lot. I take a lot of cold showers. I use the shock team out a lot whenever I just don't know what's going on. I think the power's in the question, right? That's what you got to keep asking yourself. Why am I so angry about this broadcast, right? Like I've seen it happen before. People have been listening for a while. This thing has went dead. Things have happened. And if I go back, if it was 2 years ago, I would have flipped the fuck out. And these guys can validate. I'd be so angry about it. And now it's just like,
you've grown.
Well, yeah, what's going to happen? Like what's the point of me getting angry about what's going to happen? The same thing I was trying to tell you before the podcast when we were sharing is like, anybody watching your thing, everyone's going to critique you no matter what. Again, who gives a shit? But if there's a glitch in it,
Yeah.
You're the one that you're the
Me,
one that
I'm
really
the-
knows.
I'm
You're
the
the one
one
that
that
you're the only one
cares.
that knows, right? Nobody cares until you make a big deal out of it, right? So it's like it's just, yeah, that's a great look that you have to be able to say, hey, trying to figure out why you're feeling that way. Because, you know, for me, I think for a lot of people, at least for me, it was, I just wasn't comfortable with getting to that point. I didn't want to know that question. I didn't want to know why I was angry, you know,
Yeah.
or what was really going on for me, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of shame in it. There's a lot of anger again. There's a lot of sadness, a lot of fear, all these emotions that I had nobody I can talk to about. I still, you know, I have safe men that I can talk to now, but I didn't have it that I could go and say, hey, you know what, Otto, I'm really scared.
Yeah, people might look
Like,
at you
and
crazy,
yeah.
or tell them what you're really thinking.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm scared about this or whatever, and then it's like, you know, like that's just not the society we live in, and unfortunately, I think that's, you know, one of the big problems. And for me too, like, it's interesting when you talk about, you know, you're running from God. Like, I never consider myself I still don't consider myself a super religious guy. I do believe in a higher power, right? But now that I'm doing the 12 steps for CODA, you know, one of those things in the 12 step is to give, you know, I'm starting to understand the higher power, because I thought I was the higher power. I thought for a long time
You were God.
I was my higher power. I was everyone's higher power. I knew it all. I had it all figured out. That I put myself into this pedestal, and then when I didn't do what I was supposed to do, yeah, that's a long fucking fall.
Oh yeah.
To do it. So now, you know, there's a huge part of me that, yeah, I have a higher power. I don't, you know, have a clear understanding what that is. I hope I do someday, but I do know that I don't control that. I don't control, you know, what happened to your squad. I don't control what happened to my friend's wife this week. I mean, I don't control these things.
Yeah.
Right?
We want to, and we feel like we should, and releasing that grip and just letting it be, man, there's serenity in that, because I don't have to attend every argument. I don't have to involve myself in some things, and it makes it a lot easier for me to get by.
Yeah, when you have that controlling pattern, like just everything's controlling it, you're controlling it, and you have everything, and we can't do it. It's failure. It's a losing game every time, right? Like, I don't have all the answers to it, and I'm gonna mess this up. And when I mess it up, I'm just angry with myself because I messed it up, and it's just that continuous vicious cycle that I was in. And there's a lot of relief now to know that now is I can't control the future, right?
Exactly.
I there's someone out there that's looking at these things you talk about, like we just talked about before we started the podcast, this episode 81, right? The last guy that was on here was Otto, the same name. He was episode 18. So there's the numbers mean, you know, are always kind of weird things that happen. And you're just like, holy shit, that's like, we could have planned that, you know what I mean? But it's just that's where, you know, the higher being, you know, that you know, it's been very refreshing for me not to feel like I'm godly and I control everything and I'm responsible for everybody, including myself, because I'm just not anymore. It's you know, I just was talking to my wife last night. She's like, you must have been exhausted. And I'm like, yeah, I was.
It is
exhausted every day mentally. That's why I didn't want to be here. Right. So we're after your arrest now. So we went off a little tangent about the big arrest. Yeah. So
I thought you said rest.
No,
you said
the big arrest. So
yeah.
Let's tie into we're cruising along, but I do want to get in and talk about what you're doing, you know, now, which I think is super important. But obviously you're not drinking anymore. Like, when did you finally get a grasp on this? When did you start realizing, hey, this is not working for me?
So I'll give you just a short brief right up to this, me stopping to drink alcohol. So after I got arrested in 2013, I wanted to kill myself. I lost my job where I was working at Germain Lexus of Easton. I was washing cars at the time, but I was pursuing sales. Like, I went and bought a suit and came in on my day off. I was like, teach me how to sell cars. I ended up working for a company called Wasserstrom, and then I got back into car sales, and I went back to the Germains. Before that, 2015, December of 2015 is when I started dating my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Jamie. That right there was a turning point for me. I was actually, when I was dating her, I was living somewhere that was free. I didn't have a ton of money. There was definitely drugs that got sent to that house, and they would go live in California at some time. And, I just had to stay there and watch the dogs. When I started dating her, because like I said, man, I didn't care about, myself necessarily. But when she was with me, I didn't want her to be around like that environment. And I was like, I've got to get out of here. And I went and got an apartment, and then I lost my job. And then I got into the car business, and it really took off from there. I did get one more DUI after that, and that didn't keep me from drinking. I think I quit sometime in 2022. I made a lot of mistakes drinking, and I mean, my wife is very, very forgiving for how I've acted, things that have said and unconsciously, done, even with her being right next to me to see that I'm completely blacked out. She deserves somebody so much better. So I want to say I quit drinking for her. But it took me to hear it from somebody else, because everybody can say it, oh, you should probably stop drinking. For me, I had to hear it from someone that they didn't know I was drinking. Does that make sense? So there was a pastor that came up to me and he's like, hey, John, he's like, I don't know what's going on with your life and everything, but I just feel like the Lord is saying that where you're going, a drink doesn't belong in your hand. He had no idea that I was actually wrestling that, because we had gotten to the point, okay, I wasn't allowed liquor. I wasn't allowed whiskey. I could have one beer, but one turned into two. And I'm like wrestling in my mind, like, do I need this? Do I not need this? And it was just at the right time that he said that. And it just kind of shifted for me, because I've been going to church for a while now. In 2016 or 17, I think I started going. Then I got another DUI. But that's when I realized, like, okay, man, you have to change what you're doing, because you're making a lot of mistakes, and God didn't set you up to get a DUI. You made these decisions. And that's how I found prison ministry. And I was in the car business doing prison ministry once a month. I ended up being a new car manager. And when I separated from that dealership, I was sober. I hadn't drank, and this was like February of 23. So let's say maybe like 3 months or 2 months I hadn't been drinking. I don't know what it was, but I know the last time that I drank, I definitely said some very inappropriate things that I would never in a million years say, like, sober at all, like, not me. And I don't ever want to be that person again. But yeah, the change, man. The first time I ever got invited to go to a prison, like, I didn't want to go. And honestly, I didn't really care for inmates. I had like still maybe a vigilante type of mindset. You ever seen Dexter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to get what the law missed. I don't know. I told you, I was like, when I came back, it was no longer the Afghanis. It was like the civilians. And I ended up getting asked to go to Lucasville, Ohio's max security prison. And I'm like, I don't even know these guys. Like, can I ride with them? I can't even drive. And they put me on the spot that day to open, and then they asked me to take over. And that's kind of like when this like faith journey really kind of like started to go for me. And I started to look at who I was, and not what the world like said that I was, or who I thought that I was in the world. And I mean, there were mornings that I had gone to a Bible study when I had drank and, done a little bit of Coke the night before. It's like, you don't have to clean yourself up like to get to God, but the more that I stayed around, the more things that used to be appetizing to me were no longer influential. So, I mean, it's most definitely been a process. But yeah, I want to say like maybe December of 22 I think is the last time I drank. I've never counted a day. So, but it's definitely been a process. And have I wanted to drink at the very beginning? Yes. I couldn't go to a bar for a while, but I love to go to the bar now and talk to the bikers, talk to vets. It doesn't hold me captive any longer. And that takes time. I can't be around it all the time. Because then I could get right back into it. Birds of a feather flock together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it all comes down to when you change is when you're ready to finally change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these people say something to you, and until you're ready to really change or stop something, we're the only people that can control that. People can want all these things for us, but
Let me tell you about the prison ministry.
Yeah, you want to go? We're ready. I mean,
check this shirt out.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. When did you? So you started in 2023 is when you started.
Yeah, I did. I started full time. Well, when I say full time, I mean I'm going to do this with whether I have funding or not. I was in between jobs, and I got invited to Pickaway Correctional, and I'd never been there before, and I wore a veteran shirt. There was a sports event going on with the group that I volunteered with. I didn't play sports, but I was like, man, I'll be working at a dealership anytime, so might as well go see if I can say hi to anybody. And I gave my card to a staff member, and they called me the next day on a Saturday, which has never happened. Like that, I actually called a prison for 4 years, and they never called me back. Like for them to call me on a Saturday was like, what is going on? And like, hey, will you come speak for Memorial Day? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, what do you got? You guys set something up for the guards? Because by this time I'd been preaching or facilitating a preaching service since May 5th of 2019. I met one veteran. So I'm imagining that this is for their COs, their staff members. You know, cool. I didn't know. And they're like, no, it's for our residents. I'm like, what do you mean residents? Like the inmates? Yeah. Like, oh, well, how many of you guys have veterans there? Like 5 or 6? Like, no, we have more than 70. I was, what? So I ordered a bunch of pizza and had it delivered, and we went in and ate a meal with these guys on Memorial Day. And that day set my heart on fire. And I was like, I'm not going back to the car business. I want to help these guys. Cause I am them. Yeah. I deserve to be them. Most definitely. I just didn't get caught. I mean, I got caught on some things, obviously. But my first time in trouble, you know, that was a felony charge. Luckily, I got lieu of conviction. You know, I had a guy go through my program that shot at a car during road rage after coming back from deployment. Like, I held a gun out of the freaking window at somebody before. Yeah. It could easily been me, and I saw myself in those blue suits, and I know what it's like to get arrested and have someone hang up on you from jail. I know what it's like to have no one come pick you up or want to pick you up from jail. Just, you're a waste of space. And then I found out what it means to be a veteran in there. It doesn't mean much. It could literally mean I'll spit in your face because you disgrace this country. And people don't have a clue what people go through. But that lit a fire, man. I was like, I want to do something about this. How can I be with these guys? And they're like, you're not going to do a Bible study. We got way too much of that. And it's like, so what can I do? They're like, you want to teach anger management? I laughed. Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Yeah. I'm getting punked. And they're like, no, we could use an anger management class. So I went and did a bunch of research and found the National Anger Management Association and became a certified trainer through them, and took my curriculum into that prison, and it kind of just really kicked off from there. I've had 9 full classes across 4 prisons in Ohio. I've had 91 veterans go through my program out of 121. And I mean, there's at least 1,000 incarcerated here across Ohio's 28 prisons. Man, it's been an experience. And I want to tell you, I learned as much. If those guys learned anything, I learned something too. And it was a very unique brotherhood. And as I've learned with, you know, the prison system, there are some prisons that they will set veterans up to be able to do an art competition for an event that I'm having to put on a t-shirt. And there's some places that won't let them say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag because they forfeited their right to be a veteran.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to talk a little bit before the podcast. So, like, if you were to look at it right now, you know, you're dealing with obviously the justice involved and, you know, incarcerated veterans now. That's your primary space. So what do you think is the biggest barrier right now to helping them, and like what do we need to do if that's something you want to, what needs to be changed to help? Because I when you told me that before, some of the stuff you shared about, just like you just said before, like some guys, you know, if a certain person leaves, if your sponsor or your you know, your foot in the door leaves, the next person may not want to do that, and now this whole thing can get shut down. So there seems like, you know, that's one of the things where I started feeling like a lot of anger for me starts building up. And you know, when I start thinking about anger, it's sadness, right? Because it's like, holy cow, you know, this is helping in some way, but you know, that one person has power. So what do you think is the biggest barrier right now to getting, you know, the veterans that are incarcerated help?
I mean, the separation between federal government and state. I mean, if you have a veteran that is a Vietnam vet that has Agent Orange that is going to the medical facility to be taken care of, as soon as they get arrested, they lose all of those benefits. They lose all of that medical care and everything. There's a start right there. But like getting the VA, like for real, involved. Some VAs are involved to a small point, but I can tell you, there's a prison. I know of 3 prisons where the VSO, it is their job, and they refuse to go in. They refuse to go in and help veterans. And because of that, right now in Cleveland, Ohio, there's a guy that went through my first class that got out, and he is sitting in a halfway house for more than 100 days because they didn't set him up for success. The VA doesn't even know that he's actually released because the prison won't send the information because he wasn't set up correctly to get there. I hope that he doesn't lose it and end up back in. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a halfway house. He can't get a job because it's not showing that he's actually been left the prison. He can't apply for his benefits because it still shows as he's incarcerated. I mean, honestly, man, it's a joke. I have a Vietnam vet that's been incarcerated for 53 years. I am the only person that he knows on the outside of that barbed wire fence. I'm the only person that knows that he exists, other than someone that reads the letter in front of the 6 to 8 numbers. Every time he goes up to parole, they ask him if he has a safety net. They ask him if he has a place to go. No, he doesn't. Well, what about re-entry? And that's what I've been trying to get on, is re-entry, because if they go through re-entry, it looks better at parole. But they don't have enough programs, I guess, for that. So let's say you interview for this re-entry program. It could be an anger management course. It could be just basically it's a higher level course that's recognized, and you completing it looks good to the parole, and it deems you as potentially now safer to enter society. Well, what if they don't have that available? What if you interviewed and you weren't the best fit? Oh, okay. Die here.
Yeah. So I got a question about this because I'm not in that space, but I just want to know. So if I have my honorable discharge in the military, but then I go in, I can, you know, complete, you know, get convicted of a felony. Do I lose all my benefits as my honorable stuff, or how does that work?
While you're incarcerated,
okay,
you might get a small percent of funding. Like I think maybe you get like 10% of whatever money you would get from that, but you have zero medical.
But if you do leave eventually, does that kick back in? Or
it would eventually kick back in, but you would lose all of that during that time frame. And here's the thing. So I have another guy that's been incarcerated for 32 years, Marine, and he doesn't have any family that lives around here. They all live out of state. He's been incarcerated since 1991. That's a long time. I don't know how that guy is going to get out if he doesn't have anybody that lives here that he can do his parole with. And here's the thing. So if he were to walk out that prison door, he would qualify for everything VA, housing, you name it. He's just got to be able to cross that line. So you go to the parole board, say, yeah, I'm a veteran. Here is my 100%. I qualify for all of these as soon as I get out of here. Well, we need to know that you have a place to go. Well, as soon as I get out of here, the VA it's going to pick me up. Like they have to. We need it on paper. Oh, well, the VA can't put it on paper until you have a release date. So where does that, how is that helpful?
Yeah, because I was kind of shocked that you lose the, because I have, for me, it's like you served honorably that part, you've earned that. I didn't realize that when you're incarcerated that you lose those benefits or they're suspended. I think I got to think through because it doesn't really, I guess I understand it, but it doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, you become property of the state at that point.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like that's, I can understand if it's, but that veterans, their service, they had honorable service to the nation. I mean, I don't, I think that should mean something. If, even if 2 years ago you decided to, ruin your life or ruin somebody else's life, I still feel like, there should be some. This is why I've had empathy for other, because in the past I would just say, fuck these guys and gals.
Yeah, I used to be the same way.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So it's interesting that I think about this now. I don't know how I really feel about that. It's kind of, it's interesting.
Here, I'll tell you this, not, and this guy, he did kill somebody. But I want to talk about childhood for a second. And the last, so I've done 9 classes, but this last one, man, it wrecked me. There are so many guys that are military that are incarcerated, that were sexually abused as children. Now, sometimes those people repeat that. Maybe they act in violence or they're able to get rid of it completely. It's like one of the 3, because I know one of each. And, this guy's just a couple years younger than me. And his dad did stuff to his brother, and his brother did stuff to him. Then he went to the military, learned how to kill, getting ready to get married. And his fiance discloses information about what happened to her when she was younger. He looked up the guy's record. He had been incarcerated for stuff with minors. Red. He went over, knocked on his door, asked if that was his name. Done. You know what he thought was going to make that situation better? His childhood pain.
Yeah.
It only made it worse. And it's like, man, if that kid could have got help, like how did the military like miss it? How did he get out of the military and not get the help that he really needed? Now someone's life is gone based off of a rage that he didn't know what to do with it and made a very poor choice. I don't know, man. I felt like I've wanted to do that before. Obviously, I've never done that. But what's different between me and him?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess what happened to him as a kid, man.
Yeah, I have a lot to, I think, those things you talk about. It's interesting to talk about, we've talked about this before, the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, right? So score between 0 to 10, right? What do you think the average convicted felon is?
Say that
10. It's a score between 0 and 10, 10 being the worst things that can happen to you in your first 18 years of life. What do you think the average convicted felon is?
Oh, 7 or above.
7.
Yeah. Just having trauma.
Yeah. I'm a 7.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you talked about before. I'm sure that if you took that test, you did. So there's a lot of those things that have happened that it's like I said before, all this ties into, we have it that like, what happened to you in Afghanistan is why these things were happening. I don't have it that anymore. There was other things that happened before that were just compounded, and I just didn't know how to process it or deal with it. And that's the same thing that happened to that guy. Unfortunately, you ask, how does the military know? Because the military doesn't ask that.
Yeah.
Right. They're too worried about you having a tattoo that's bigger than your hand.
Yeah.
But they're not worried that you literally are, like, honestly a ticking time bomb. Right. That you're entering, the military service or fire departments or police academies where you really have had some stuff happen to you at a young age and you really don't know how to process it. But hey, come on, you're patriotic, or you want to, get ready to get away from your family of origin. We got something for you. Right. Mm-hmm. And all those, not being able to show feelings, right. Not have empathy, looking good for fear of not looking bad, dominating others so I'm not dominated. That's exactly what I learned from my childhood, right? And growing up, that's exactly what it was, right? So, yeah, they don't know because nobody asks. And we're sure as fuck not telling anybody either. That's the whole point. No one's telling. He's not. Who knows what that conversation is? That's a very difficult thing. But I don't condone his. I'm not saying what he did was right or it's justified. That's not what I'm saying. No, it's just. But yeah, it's getting in touch with that whole thing and figuring out why, like you said earlier, why I'm having that rage, right? Because something happened to him.
Yeah.
And that person that happened to wasn't even, that could have been the person that did it to him in his mind. You know what I mean? And with no thought of what ends up happening to you at the end of it. Now he's incarcerated for how many years for this?
His life.
For life. Yeah.
Younger than me.
And yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying
it's not an excuse.
It's just a
series. Yeah. No, it's a series of unfortunate events but so for that guy, I want to be there for that guy. I want to be influential to him. I want to be a brother to him. I want to let him know that he still matters in life, because I had a veteran that went through my class that didn't talk to anybody for 10 years other than cellmate or whatever, but like not a phone call, like family members that maybe have nothing to do with the crime. Like you just got, like me, I'm the one that got arrested, not you, Mom. Why are you hanging up on me in jail? And that's, these guys, if they don't have anybody to call, like I could not imagine. And it's become addicting, man, just to be there for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about this earlier off camera, and it always comes up as the word that comes up is purpose, right? So, you said you struggled when you got out of the military to have a purpose. Me too. I struggled for a long time. And, that's what, when I come back from men now, that's what it's about. I think that's the same thing you have now, is you have a purpose that, really means something. And it takes a long time for some people to find their purpose. I think that's when I hear you talk about it, and this isn't the first conversation we've ever had about it. I mean, I feel like this has become your purpose, right? To come back for these men, to share their message, to advocate for them, and to hold space and be there for them. It's like you said, because I got to imagine, this is a question I have for you, because you deal with these men often. Is it just because they don't have people that they can talk to, or is there shame of what they've done? Is there any kind of extra shame being a veteran that they've done this, or does that compound it at all for them? Or
I'd say there's a mix of all that. I mean, prison's a little bit different. So, kind of when they're on their own, I wouldn't know how it is. I only know what it would be like in kind of like group environments or like one-on-ones, like really getting to pick somebody's brain. And I can tell you that I do see a lot of honor amongst these guys, and they want to do good. I mean, yeah, there's the whine and cry and bitching and moaning that you get from everybody, just using words that we can, all understand. But I really feel like these guys, so there's one, so Chillicothe Correction, I think, has the hands down best veteran program that I've ever been a part of in any facility that I've ever gone into. These guys really have pride in what they do. They will have a beautiful ceremony. Like, it means something to them to muster together. If you were to come in from the outside with me, bro, they'd talk about you for years. Like, I'll bring in veterans for different events, or just to go on the block, just to, hey, let's go see some veterans. And it means the world to them to have someone like you come in, because they might not have. I just had coffee with an Air Force veteran from Alabama, and his brother is incarcerated here in Ohio and has been since 1991. So they see him once a year. Once a year. Other than that guy would get to, see me. It's the same thing in there every day. You got people running games, trying to do this, that, the third, or whatever. You have good staff members, you have bad staff members, but overall, there's a product that's just so big of negativity. So to have a guest come in means like the world to them. And I don't know. It's addicting, dude. I love it. So I feel that I do really serve a purpose there. I mean, I met a family member of a veteran at a prison for an event. He passed away. His son couldn't go. I spoke for him at the funeral. I have another Vietnam veteran, and he's been down for, I think, 35 years. I'd never met his brother. His brother was a Marine. This guy's an Army guy. When his brother died, the family reached out to me to do the service. So I'm meeting people on the outside, I'm meeting people on the inside, and it's like bridging this unknown gap. I mean, I drove 3 hours for somebody that I've never met, for somebody that I've driven to prison more than 50 times to see. So I know that it meant something to him. I mean, just recently, we were able to help. There was a Navy veteran that went through my class. His dad's 84 years old. And I guess like the siblings don't help the dad. So the veteran is, once he gets out, he's going to help his dad. But his house caught on fire. And I found out and I was like, can I talk to your dad? Just want, I want to check on him. I think it'll, maybe give you a little bit of peace of mind. And I talked to this guy and it sounded like everything was, fine. And I'm like, man, what is your problem? Like what is an issue? Because it sounds like the church is helping, this is helping. And he's like, well, honestly, man, I'm not asking you for anything. And I'm just telling you because you asked. He needed help with like the insurance money. So to be able to do that, man, that guy in prison, man, he slept so good. And you know what? The teacher that I talked to there, he was like, man, he cried. Like it meant something to him. So I had to make 200 and some prison trips there to really show this guy, how much I love him and that he is forgotten because, man, you and I, we said the same thing. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. Well, okay. What does that mean? What POWs and MIAs can you currently tell me of that's going on? Like the Red Shirt Fridays till they all come home. I feel like that should be like a prison movement. It's absolutely insane that there are so many veterans incarcerated. And I was one of the people that didn't know. And now I know, and damn it, I want to do something about it. We all fall short. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, but we made a vow never to leave each other. And I don't care where, maybe you fell on the battlefield of life. Like I will never leave a fallen comrade. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you stole some money or you did this, that, or whatever. Like justice system has the justice system. My hand's still raised that day and I'm not taking it down. You know what I mean? And not everybody's like that. And I think that's probably one of the most irritating things that I deal with today is trying to explain the purpose and the reason behind it to people who really only have surface level ears. Because as soon as, like you say, veteran, oh, great. But then prison breaks. Like you can't, that's not limelight. That's not camera worthy.
Well, no, it's like we said about the conversation, but you just said it earlier. It's like, right, you don't have to justify why you're doing things. Like people ask me all the time why I do these podcasts or why we, formed a charity to do what we do. Because I chose to, and I choose to, and like either you're behind it, and it is different. Like, because I, if I'm being honest with you too, I know how that's uncomfortable. It's the same thing when we start talking about suicide. Like, oh, we can't talk about suicide. We can't talk about incarcerated, veterans. We can't talk about homeless veterans. We can't talk about any of that kind of stuff because it's uncomfortable for everybody. But the other part about it is like, to be honest with, like, I'm not, there's a part of me that's like the old part of me. Like when you talked about that, I'd be like, fuck these guys. Honestly, if I'm being honest, like these guys committed a crime, you do the time. Like that's, I don't have time for it. Now there's a different part of me that like you talked about having love. I have empathy for these guys. I don't, like I said before, I in no way agree with what the guy did that he was explaining. Yeah. I may not agree with the crimes that they're doing, but they still need to be treated like human beings. They still need to be, taken care of. And I think that's, what you're doing is, as long as you feel the purpose and it's being felt by those veterans, then it doesn't matter if people understand it or not, because
and one thing that I will say is I've never asked anybody why they're in there. Yeah. Sometimes people, and this was through an anger management class, and I was very surprised, but also thankful, because this young guy spoke to some of the older guys and just such a like profound way. He's got a lot of knowledge. He just really made a bad mistake. And obviously, he's going to be in there for a long time for what he did. And he knows what he did was wrong. Yeah. But I want to be there for those guys. Because his life still matters. I mean, especially because he's a veteran, man. Like I could have easily been in there all day.
Let me ask you a question. You talked about Chillicothe and their veteran program. Like, how does that work? If what now, I know you're kind of early into it, but you're getting in there. Like, how does that work? Who sets that up? The veterans themselves? Does someone go in there and help them do that? Like, how does a prison set it, get these type of things set up where they can start coming, asking people to come in like you, anger management, having,
So for
ceremonies, having, you know, like service dogs that they're training, is that set up by the inmates themselves, or
you
other
have to
people?
have a staff member that wants to make a difference, not just a paycheck.
Yeah.
And there are staff members like that. There are Chillicothe has a great guy. His name's Brad Lemaster. He works in the school there. He's also a veteran. He was a captain in the Army. So that's a really good hook. I've found that if there are veterans that work at the facility, generally that's who is going to be the staff advisor. Now, at another prison, they had a staff advisor not want to do it because maybe it got a little hectic. And they didn't have any veteran stuff for almost 2 years.
So this, just give me, so I got this right. The Chillicothe guy that's running it, he's got hurt. The guy retires, and there's no one there to take over that. That program could basically
Be gone,
spiral into not existing.
I could no longer be welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm no longer welcome at another location.
See, I think that's important. I mean, that's a huge barrier that I talk about. I think that's, you know, obviously having that sponsorship, and I don't know what that looks like. You have mentioned about talking to senators and things like that. I mean, that's where, you know,
I've wrote the news.
That doesn't seem very fair to me. But
when they had a guard that got killed at Ross, 10 TV, Yolanda, no, I forget what her name was. 10 TV. They reached out to me with my anger management program in prison and everything, and I tried to give them some really good information, and they never got back to me. I met the senator at the Veterans Museum, and then I actually followed up and I wrote them explaining very much in detail all about incarcerated veterans, and I mean, I talked to the guy that is like the president of the Veterans Museum, and man, as soon as I said president, or I said prison, you could definitely tell the difference, like in our rank.
Yeah. No, I can understand it. I mean, I get it. I just, it still doesn't make it right. I mean, there's those organizations that come up. I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like it should be an individual, like staff member, you know, dictating that, you know, the prison, you know, each one of these prisons report to someone, and it should be something that, you know,
they all
you
really
would think
report.
that
you would think that, but man,
I know.
It's the good old boys. They're all on their own island.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why I love these conversations like these, is when you find something, because I never knew that either. I thought, like, you know, if you have it, it stays there, but it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like these guys could be doing something that's really good, have all these programs, and then,
yeah, you know, it could be really good. It could end
tomorrow,
really,
and
really
I just don't think that helps. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Because so it gives these guys purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They do fundraisers, and these guys will do fundraisers and give money away to Honor Flight, Save a Warrior if they know how to get it to them. But they raise money in there. I've actually had 3 veteran groups donate to me, like to our a little over $5,000 from 3 groups. Dude, that is a lot of money for them. If you only have state pay of $24, so one fundraiser, like picture day, this might sound stupid. What does picture day matter? Well, man, maybe your mom only gets 1 picture of you a year for the last 20 years, but for the first time, she's going to get one that doesn't look like you're in prison. She's going to get one that's going to have you standing in front of an American flag, looking like the proud veteran that you are. Mm-hmm. They had such a huge sale. I did a green screen with a bunch of different backdrops, like the Ohio State Tunnel and everything. And they were so excited about this. It brought them, they do fundraisers for food drives. And I mean, if you can ever come on a Wednesday, I'm not going this week, but the second Wednesday of every month, the Chillicothe Veterans Coalition, they have a meeting just like an American Legion or a VFW. And they have a treasurer, a president, a sergeant at arms. It is awesome. It is really, really cool to be a part of. But what sucks is when you go somewhere and they don't have it.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to bridge that gap. And I think like probably in the next 60 days, I'll probably have more data than maybe the federal government on the amount of incarceration, because I'm getting ready to launch nationally into 50 states. And Like my veterans program asks, are you a veteran? What branch did you serve in? How long did you serve? What was your unit? Did you deploy? Did you see combat? And I will have a breakdown by zip code where these places are. So if Colorado has 600 veterans in one prison that log on to my program, damn it, I'm going to be calling that prison.
Yeah.
Because I want to go in and see those guys. I mean, for this Memorial Day, I spoke at 3 locations, and I had volunteers go to every single one. One, Madison Correctional, they have two facilities. Those guys got cake on a napkin. Like that was the Memorial Day meal. Chillicothe had a full meal. They let me pay for it. We fed 170 veterans in there and family members that came in for it. So it's like some places have really good stuff and some places just get a little bit. But I want to tell you, the guys that only had cake on a napkin were just as happy as these guys because they were getting to do something together. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going off on.
No. I mean, this is exactly why we had it on. I mean, you don't have to apologize at all. So, but we will take a break at that real quick. But we do. You have seen the shirt here. This shirt is the back of a shirt. We do have a poll going on right now, and on Boards with Patriots, I put it on a few hours ago, and the question was, what percentage of the U.S. incarcerated population are veterans? So people are voting on right now. If you have the correct one, and this was essentially what Otto just brought up, is the last, I think, data, if I look at it, is from like 2016, so almost 10 years ago, that the data is accurate. But as of then, the correct answer is 8% of the U.S. population is our veterans. So we're going to be giving away a shirt, a Chaplain Otto Ministries shirt to whoever had guessed 8. We'll figure that out later on, but we'll go from that. But that's what the shirt, and a little bit more you can talk about it. Drawn by an inmate.
Yeah. So this was so I did the first ever prison run for incarcerated veterans. And I got the idea because I saw that the Hells Angels like rode past a prison, I think in like Arizona, and they were on like the main road, but all the inmates were like just standing outside. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I was like, man, we should be able to do something for veterans. And I had this idea before I ever knew Chillicothe prison was like the veterans capital. And this is a design that was drawn by, so we had an art competition. This won online, but that's actually his great-grandfather. It's either his grandfather or his great-grandfather. I'm gonna get my dates mixed up, but World War II, Army, 82nd Airborne. And the goal for this was to show the prison, which and include veterans. Plus, if you see right there where it says American Legion post 809, I wanted it to depict the first American Legion inside of an Ohio prison. So there are 50 in the United States, and Ohio makes 51. And that's because like minds came together and we wanted to do something different. I think that this is absolutely amazing. And it's been phenomenal to be a part of. And it doesn't stop here. I mean, as silly as that might sound, like crochet. Like, have you ever crocheted?
Yeah.
I haven't. And I'll be honest with you.
My mom used to do that a lot.
I'm the guy that would look at you.
My dad is laughing. He's like, here, have a.
I'm the guy that would look at you and be like, you all right there, fella? I had a guy that was crocheting in my anger management class, Navy veteran. And I was like, wow, what's that mean to you? And he's like, oh, I like to make this, and we can give these away sometimes to different things. I was like, huh. So the guy that works at Chillicothe, him and I came up with a project, community service, and I think 8 guys made over 176 items that then I had to get volunteers. And we went to the VA nursing home, and every veteran in a bed got something, to include a handmade card. And these guys, they didn't get to go with us.
Yeah.
I paid for it. They did all the work. I got to get the pictures taken and the excitement, but they got to live through that experience. Even though they were behind the wire, they were helping veterans. And you know what, man? Nursing home veterans, that's an orphanage, right?
Yeah.
They're somewhere where they don't want to be, where nobody wants them either. It's just different circumstances. And when they knew it came from the prison, maybe a couple people were like, oh, but then some people were very deeply, compassionately thankful that somebody who is written off from society cared about someone who is written off from society. And to be a part of that, man, is, I mean, I made really good money in the car business. I don't know if a check could overcome that. Like, it's just so cool to be a part of some of these things. And, you know, to have these guys be vulnerable. I mean, I had a guy that broke down in class to tell us where his mind was at because his mom had a seizure and he had to talk. He's like the person on the wheel or whatever, like she's getting ready to die. And he's like, he knows that she's going to go to heaven. But like the worst part for him was when she had her seizure, she like went like Indian style. So they were going to have to like break her arms and her legs to get her in the casket. And he had to okay that.
Yeah.
You know what that was like for him to sit with that, not telling anybody? I'll tell you that everybody in the room that day, they could not compare their day to what he was going through. And that's when I realized, like, talking about this stuff, man, how important it is. And that day was very, if someone didn't like him for some reason in that prison or something that was in that class, like they looked at him a little bit different. Yeah. And that, like, you saw that brotherhood come around. And just, I'm happy that I was there. I'm happy that I was there and I built rapport and relationship with these guys that they felt safe enough to tell me things I would never ask. And some things I don't want to hear, but it's like being there for them. And like you said a little bit ago, you have a few people that you can talk to. What do you think they got in there? That's why the importance is for us to be in there. So I'm compassionate about it.
I can tell you. I think it's a purpose. I think you found your purpose exciting to see. You know, it's exciting to hear about it, you know, a few months ago when we first met, and then super excited to hear what it looks like, you know, with you going national and looking forward to hearing about that. And you know, let me know. I mean, I'm always excited to hear more about it. But I do have a question about, you know, we're winding down here to the 2 hours here, but a couple more questions I want to run. But you answered all the questions without me having to really look at them, so it's just great. You always you made it a lot easier on me. So the one question I have to ask everybody, so like, you know, with you know the veteran warrior class, you know, suicide epidemic that's going on, what do you think needs to happen that's not happening to help end veteran, you know, ultimately end veteran suicide or to lower the numbers? What do you think is not being done that needs to get done?
Talking about our feelings. And so in my position, unfortunately, I hear more about suicide than maybe the average person. And I will go look people up and see, man, it looks like this person they were living a good life. Like, you just took your motorcycle to Tail of the Dragon, you just rode across country. You just filled this basket full up with toys, like, for all these kids in this fundraiser. What happened? You're right about that bottle thing and being in the basement. Yeah. That's a one thing, man. I've had people reach out to me like, hey man, we need to talk. And when I talk to them, they're like, man, it got really, really dark last night, and I'm just glad I'm here. And I'm like, hey, don't hear me wrong. Were you drinking? There's never been a time the answer is no. There's never been a time the answer is no. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Outlaw alcohol?
Yeah, that didn't work for a little bit, yeah.
I mean, I don't think that you should. We have to learn how to have a conversation and not drink about it. And okay, maybe you are the person that you need to work through it. Don't do it alone.
Yeah.
There are so many strong people that have a moment where they make a decision that changes, where they no longer suffer, but everyone else does.
Yeah. I said earlier, it's, you know, the permanent solution to a temporary problem. Yeah. You know, all those things you said it before, is just talking about how you're feeling and adjusting and we all feel this way. It's not it's not special for the warrior class or just, you know, it's how everyone feels. And it's just being able to talk about how you truly feel. Cause that is always surprising. It's always often that it's like, no one's really saying, oh, I knew Otto was going to kill himself.
Yeah.
You really, very, very rarely hear that. It's always, everyone is like blindsided by it. And it's one of those things that I spend a lot of time thinking about, that's why I'm so passionate about, the organization that I help out at Save a Warrior, like that I'm part of. I couldn't be happy because I think that is just like going in there and, busting up the way that it's the way it didn't work for me the first time, right?
Yeah.
Like counseling and talking to people that, it's just, you got to find what works. If it's, we've had people on just recently that are, starting hockey leagues, whatever works, going in and talking to veterans like you are now, like, cause that's an interesting thing I was thinking about too. What's the suicide rate for veterans that are incarcerated? I don't even know if that's a number, if anybody's even tracking that. But yeah, I think a lot of it's just,
I'll be honest. I had a Navy veteran that tried to kill himself after he got kicked like out of the dog. I'm sure that he probably had something to do with him, like getting kicked out of the dog program or whatever. But he tried to hang himself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I would say that, do they get classified as being a veteran? I mean, I could call a prison right now and say, how many veterans do you have in there? How long do you think it'll take to get an answer?
God, from what you're telling me now, it's almost an impossible task, probably. I mean, who knows?
It is, and I don't understand. And hopefully, I'll be able to do something with all of this data that we're going to be getting from this launch. But it's alarming to know how many veterans are incarcerated, and people don't know about it. So how many veterans are assaulted in prison? I don't know.
Yeah. Or how many are being the victimizer? I mean, it's all kinds of stuff to look at. I mean, it's very exciting to see that you're doing that and that you have that passion to do that. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. But yeah, I think I asked that question. A lot of people, go like, I had one person like, I'm not an expert in this thing. That nobody, like, I'm not either. But I don't think it's not really working with some of the experts. These numbers don't seem to be going down the way they should be with all the supports out there. So it takes a lot of people putting their minds together and figure out what works. But, I'm a firm believer in, being honest, talking to people, being vulnerable. That's what's changed my life and made me not want to kill myself.
I mean, honestly, if I never quit drinking, I don't know what would have happened, because I know in a sober state of mind like that, I would never do that. But if I drink, it's hard to tell. And that's where you really get in those dark spots. So you can't like drink through that, because it's literally like bearing something, and it grows on the inside. But when it sprouts up, it doesn't look like a flower. It's that 12-foot weed.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, where did that come from?
Yeah. See, I'm like, the instant that you say that is that's when you felt like your darkness, or when those thoughts came in. I don't think it was almost the exact opposite for me. Like when I was drinking, I didn't have that feeling, because that was numbing. Yeah. So I think it's dependent on what the person is. I mean, it's all such an individual thing, but talk about
around others.
I mean, like when I drank, I felt like that's when I became, gosh, I mean, I was definitely numbing, not wanting to be with something, but that's why, it's interesting. Is why we started Pours with Patriots, right? When I look about the name and where it came from and the origins of what it is, like, there's no alcohol on the table. We haven't drank. I can't even tell you how many episodes I haven't drank, or but in the beginning, when I started this, that's how I had it, that I was able to talk about, if I go back to episode 1 and those first, 10 episodes where I was starting to share what, my life looked like. I needed, felt like I needed alcohol. That was my thing. That's when I came to touch. No, not that I couldn't function, that I couldn't be honest about how I was feeling, my feelings and my past, and being in touch with that. That allowed me to do it. I was the guy that would, drink, half a bottle of vodka, or not vodka, but bourbon, and call Josh and tell him how much I love him. Call you. I'd be down here and call 27 people. Right. When I wasn't drinking, I wasn't calling anybody. Mm-hmm. Right. Unless I needed something. Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, when I had those times, I don't think I was ever where I was drinking like, oh, this is when I was going to do it. I felt that really darkness when, I wasn't drinking, you know what I mean? So, I think it's dependent on what, it's just talking about it. I mean, do I think that it's caused problems? Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit advocate to it, and nobody likes it. Is like, nobody wants to hear, but if you're suffering from PTS and you're getting money from the government, I don't think you should have guns in your house. I mean, there's a lot of things, we know what we're doing with that. I think the numbers are like 80% of veterans take their life with, with firearms. You know what I mean? It's if you're not in your right mind, you're drinking or you're in that dark place, it's very easy to go grab a gun and make a permanent decision. So there's all those kind of things. I just always ask that question. That's a great answer. So I appreciate your response to it.
Yeah. And I mean, so for me, man, one thing I always tell guys is like, hey, if you're ever struggling, if you ever need anything, like, I want you to know I'm a safe place.
Yeah.
And I think that people think that they have that with people, but there's so many surface level relationships because you like lose that deep bond with your battle buddy or the guy from your platoon or whatever. Then you get out here and you have all these surface level relationships.
Yeah.
So it's like learning to be vulnerable and trust at the same time while experiencing something new, right? Like Peter walking on the water. He did great till he looked down.
Yeah, and we're not professionals, so it's always a good part to put this out. If you or someone is in crisis and might be considering suicide, you can please contact the Veterans Crisis Hotline at 988 or at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or you can now text 838-255 or chat online at veteranscrisisline.net/chat. But yeah, it doesn't matter who you talk to as long as you talk to somebody. I think that's key. You don't need to do this on your own. There's no need to it. Let's do it. So we're blowing past 2 hours here.
Yeah.
I knew we'd go through. So what is there anything we missed that you want to talk about when you want to talk about, what's going on with the ministry or anything we missed? This is your story.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I said a lot and we've, hopefully maybe I'll end up coming back on, but there's a lot of big things that are getting ready to come out and I'm going to be expanding. So
yeah.
I'm not necessarily thinking that Ohio is going to be home base, but I'm going to have troops here to fill the gaps while I continue to go expand.
I'm excited for you.
Me too, man.
And like we tell everybody who's, feel free to post anything on our pages. It isn't just about, Pours with Patriots. It's about what, it's about how we can help anybody in the whole veteran community. So please feel free to keep us updated, keep, our listeners updated, members of the page. And we're looking forward. And I know you have the support of us at Pours with Patriots. We hope it's goes well. And if any way we can help, reach out and let us know. So,
awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. And I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you, for being so vulnerable and honest. And I really appreciate that. And I'm sure that, that's not easy. So I really want to thank you for not only for your service to the country, your continued service to the incarcerated veterans here in Ohio and then now nationwide. And then also just thank you for your raw vulnerability and sharing your story. So thank you. I
appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we'll roll into my least favorite part of the show. Tonight we're going to honor a veteran who unfortunately took his life. Tonight we're going to honor U.S. Navy Chief Special Warfare Operator SEAL Edward Stephen Hebert, 44. Edward took his life on August 22nd, 2020, while stationed in Honolulu, Hawaii. Edward was born on May 4th, 1976, in Lafayette, Louisiana. After graduating from Acadia High School in 1994, Edward attended the University of Lafayette, where he met his wife, Christina. Edward enlisted in the United States Navy in 1998. His first duty assignment was as a hospital corpsman at Camp Geiger, North Carolina. Edward later attended basic underwater demolition school in Coronado, California. After completing this training, Edward was qualified as a U.S. Navy SEAL and deployed multiple times in support of the global war on terrorism, conducting combat operations in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and other undisclosed locations. Edward was a highly decorated combat veteran with numerous awards and decorations. While serving on active duty, Edward earned his Bachelor's of Science in Health Sciences from Excelsior College. Edward is survived by his wife Christina, children Jackson, Spencer, and Zoe, mother-in-law Gretchen, parents Natalie and Stephen, brothers Zerbin, Charles, and Anthony, sister Sarah, brother-in-law Gregory and Jeremy, grandmothers-in-law Burley and Thelma, Uncle Mike, and numerous other relatives and friends. And as I already said before, if you or someone you know is in crisis and might be considering suicide, please contact the Veterans Crisis Hotline at 988 or 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or you can text 838-255 or chat online at veteranscrisisline.net/chat. And again, I we have a couple announcements, I guess, coming up here. I guess Josh will pull them up here. We're almost filling in the rest of the year. We got a couple more to close out 2025. So reach out to us. I promise you, it's good food, right? We have Nathan's cooking again, so we had some really good homemade food today.
I was not expecting.
We have some good gifts that we have a gift for you.
Kidding.
I've always torn that we don't do it on camera at least once, but it keeps it kind of a secret. But we take care of you. It's a safe space. It's great to come down here and meet everybody. So if you're worried about it, we don't bite. It's not that painful, and your story is important. So another thing is that I'd be getting in trouble if I didn't announce this, but our friends at Sock Hands have an event coming up. I have it right this time. The slide is correct. It's September 6th, this Saturday, up in Delaware, in their new facility they built. There's gonna be some cool stuff. There's gonna be some roping, some shooting, some riding. So go up there, bring your family. It's gonna be a great event. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I've already gotten a lot of crap for it, but it's going to be a great event. But sorry, I can't make it, guys. They gave me a hard time today about it. And then finally, another fundraiser we have coming up. We'd like to thank the Loose Whale Brewing for allowing us to take part and be part of their upcoming block party. This is going to be taking place on Saturday, September 20th. Like you see the slide that's up here, live music, raffles, a bunch of games. It's great food, great beer, and great opportunity to support some great charities. And we're very fortunate to be part of that. And we'd like to thank them for doing that. You just got to go online and figure that out. When I don't think there's tickets, but great opportunities to do. It's gonna be a good time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at that one either, so I feel bad here, about this. But we have it covered with one of the other board members, and I think that covers for my announcements tonight, right? Okay, so again, I'd like to thank you for coming on. It means the world to be able to sit with you and hear your story. It's an inspiring story. I know it's going to touch people to listen. I'm inspired by listening to it, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing it, and love what you're doing, man. And I wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we'll end this with a quote from Oscar Wilde. Every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future. I thought that would be a good one for the work you're doing and some of the things. So again, we'll see everybody in a couple weeks. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Otto. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Have a great night.